But the challenge we've got here is the way that the trees are positioned kind of down here. And I found a scene here which at first I was really hopeful for. If I go further down that way I can't get a clear view because there's too many trees in there. All I can do now is wait and enjoy the scenery, and why not? It's beautiful scenery, it's a lovely view. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. If this is your first time on the channel and you like what you see, please consider hitting subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much, I appreciate the support. Now, today is a spring day. We're almost at the end of March. It's very warm. Not as warm as it's going to get as the months go on, but it's certainly pretty warm. And we've got pretty much wall-to-wall blue skies. There's a few wispy clouds kind of over there, but they're not going to last. I've come out to Tibi reservoir, or Pantano de Tibi, and I thought I would try exploring a different part of this scene. I've done some shots before kind of down that end down there, on that side, but I've never been further up. So I parked up in my usual spot and then hiked back up the hill that I'd just driven down. And I'm just exploring. I found a really nice vantage point here, but I'm not entirely sure that it makes for a good composition. There's a nice sort of flow of the reservoir leading in with the sort of peaks, the small mountains, rocky hills, whatever they are in the background. And I can probably shoot to minimise the amount of sky in there, because that blue sky is obviously going to be a bit boring. But the challenge we've got, as is so often the case here, is the way that the trees are positioned kind of down here, and this one over here makes it difficult to really get a clean shot. So it's a possible here, but I think I'm going to carry on exploring and see if I can find something better. Okay, I've got another possible view here that might work. Basically looking down to the reservoir down there. I can use the trees on this hill and the hill itself to kind of frame the scene on the bottom. The big hill and mountain, framing it at the top, a little bit of blue sky in there, and then just the shape of the reservoir going back. It would be better if the breeze dropped, which it might do as we get a bit later on in the afternoon. We're still 2 and a bit hours before sunset, but this would have to be shot well before sunset while there's still some light on the scene if it's going to work. But this is a possible composition, definitely. Okay, so I've carried on exploring for, I don't know, a good half an hour, 40 minutes I think. And I found a scene here which at first I was really hopeful for. We've got the reservoir sort of curving around there and the hills and that in the background. But the problem is, I can't get an angle on it that I want. Ideally I want to be shooting it from a bit further down that way, which would let me still have that big rugged peak, this one here, as sort of like a focal point in the distance, with the shape of the reservoir curving in. But the problem is, if I go further down that way I can't get a clear view because there's too many trees in there, and from here there's no way I can get that peak to look the way I want it to look. So I don't think this is going to work. And looking at the way the trail's running, it's not going to get any easier because it's now going back down and around, and I think we're going to lose kind of all of the interest around this way. So I think it's time to make the call. I'm going to go back to that composition that I found earlier, see if I can make it work. So it'll be a case of getting there, playing around with it, getting it set up. I'm thinking it's going to be 70mm lens, get set up, and then wait and see what the light does. And hopefully if we get the right light on the scene, it could look nice. But won't know till I go and have a look. Okay, so I'm back at that composition that I found. I'm set up and I'm just going to wait now. So I'll talk you through what I've got. I've got the 70-200 lens on, 70mm. Right at the bottom of the frame there's a little hill which has got some trees on, and I'm just including that in the bottom. That kind of provides the foreground interest. Then we've got the reservoir going out. Now I'm shooting this in a landscape or horizontal format because I want to frame the reservoir on both sides. So basically the sides of the reservoir are framing both sides, so the cliff faces and the hills and the trees, etc. And then in the background we've got one big hill that comes in from the right hand side of the frame, and then the much bigger, rockier, craggier hill or mountain, whatever it is, in the background, and then there's a bit of blue sky. I'm trying to make sure that I leave a little bit of room at the top of that big hill or the mountain to breathe. I don't want it right up in the top of the frame, so there's a little bit of space above there, and it's cropped really in tightly on the hill on the bottom. There's nothing really close to the lens. 70mm focusing right out on the mountain at the end. That f11 is giving me plenty of depth of field, so I don't need to focus stack or do anything clever like that. Okay, all set up, composition's dialed in exactly the way I want it. Nothing to do now but wait, see what happens with the light, and maybe just hope for a calm patch in the breeze just to take the ripples out of the water and give us some reflections, but I doubt that's going to happen. I have put on my filter holder just in case I want to do a long exposure, so I can just drop in the 10-stop filter. No point in using a polarizer because the sun is going to be almost over my shoulder, so polarizer's not going to do anything. All I can do now is wait and enjoy the scenery, and why not? It's beautiful scenery, it's a lovely view. Yeah, so right now the sun's getting lower. It's still an hour before official sunset. but I think maybe another 10 minutes and the sun's just going to disappear and this whole foreground is going to go into shadow as soon as that does that. And there'll still be light on the hills in the background. So it might be worth hanging on and seeing what happens when the foreground goes into shadow and the light is on the background. It might add an extra dynamic to it. Okay, so the sun has now gone behind the hill over there. All of the foreground's in shadow, but there's some nice golden light on that big rugged hill or mountain at the end, and golden light and reflections of that golden glow across the water, which actually looks really nice. I'm going to pop in the 10-stop filter and do one at probably 1 minute. Okay, so I hung around there until the last of the direct light went off the scene, at which point, with no clouds, as I always say, no clouds, no point in waiting around after sunset, because nothing's going to happen unless you've got something that's going to work as a blue hour shot, and this one isn't one of those. So I'm now packed up, heading for home, hopefully with a reasonably nice image in the bag. But I guess you'll already know, because you'll already have seen what I managed to get. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Quick reminder about subscribing if you're not already a subscriber. And I'll also just mention likes and shares, because they do help to promote the channel. And I love to hear from you. If you want to leave me a comment, ask me a question, let me know what you think of the video, let me know what you think of the image. Whatever you like, comments down below. And as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. So, thank you very much, and until the next video, bye.